Are you a fan of pro wrestling, comedy, and combat sports? Then we have the podcast for you because we cover that and much, much more.
Do you like to debate with your friends? Do we have the perfect segment for you? It's the 531, where we take any given subject, break it down to a top 5. From there, we debate it down to 3, and then into that number 1 spot.
If you want to get a hold of us, find us on our social medias. Search Working Fans Podcast on any major social media platform. And if you want to find the podcast, search for us on any major podcast platform, as well as YouTube.
Working Fans Podcast. We put in the work so you don't have to.
Guys, welcome back for Working Fans Podcast, episode 140. And this is going to be kind of a different edition because today AJ and Dave are burying Dave's mom. That is not a joke. I know it's April Fool's Day, but Dave's mom died last week and her funeral is today. And since AJ has been friends with the family longer, he went to the funeral to support Dave. And I said I would handle things on this end. But I want to play a quick video from Dave talking about his mom, and then we will jump into the wrestling talk of this weekend.
All right, guys. I kind of wanted to record something here. Not the easiest thing in the world to talk about, but I was not on last week's show, and you guys have probably noticed for 2 years I've pretty much been on almost every single show, every single segment, because I love doing this. But my mom passed away. And so, as I record this, it's actually going to be the funeral tomorrow. She's been passed away for a little over a week. And I wanted to do this message because I have this platform, and even if not a lot of people see it, it's still a platform. And, we talk about wrestling. And there's more important things in life than wrestling, obviously, like your mom, And one of the things, though, that's interesting, it's a little bit my relationship with my mom. We had a really good relationship through wrestling. My mom loved pro wrestling when she was younger. And then when I started getting into pro wrestling and actually, I was already into it, but at some point when I was like 12 years old, she would watch wrestling with me because I didn't have a lot of friends. Like now I'm very social, but back then, not so much. And so my mom would watch wrestling with me. And, she was like my best friend, at the time when I needed one. And we would watch, everything. Every single show, WWE Superstars, Wrestling Challenge, All American Wrestling, WCW Power Hour, Saturday Night, you name it. Excuse me. But yeah, she just loved to watch wrestling with me. And she really, I think, enjoyed the fact I had this podcast and would talk about wrestling whenever I bring it up. One of her favorites was Razor Ramon, Scott Hall. And the night Scott actually passed away, she had gone in the hospital. And I just remember, like, she would get such a kick out of Razor Ramon, the whole Chico, something going to happen to my gold, something going to happen to you, And I just loved that. And I would love to crack her up making these little Razor Ramon quotes. And, I don't know really what to say on here sometimes. Like, I just want about this is a difficult subject, so I'm a little stuttering and stammering, but I just kind of want to let you guys know what's going on. I'm in a good spot. Thankfully, I have a very strong group of supportive friends, and everybody's been in my corner. But yeah, if it wasn't for my mom, sticking with me and watching wrestling with me all those times when I was young. I don't know like if I'd be just as into it. Like she kind of helped make the experience for me because she would get so excited that it'd be contagious. The enthusiasm would be contagious. So in a lot of ways, Mama Smith is a big part of this podcast. So I don't really know what to say. I just want to let everybody know that's what's going on. And Mom, hope you somewhere and get to see this, and hope it does you justice because I would not be here or where I'm at without you. And thanks for watching Wrestle with me. But guys, I will be back in full swing next week. We are going to do a tribute to Scott Hall at some point. I do want to do a 5-3-1 of Scott Hall matches, and that will kind of be dedicated to my mom a little bit too. But yeah, guys, you only get one mom, so love her. Sorry to be a little more sensitive this week, but it's just something I kind of wanted to talk about and just explain, because I always believe in being honest with you guys and being authentic and just telling you everything that's going on. So, but yeah, we'll be back. It's WrestleMania weekend as well. We'll be covering that, previewing that. Producer Joe's been killing it, doing a good job, basically talking about everything that's coming up that's not WrestleMania. I'll be talking about WrestleMania NXT. And yeah, guys, enjoy the weekend and enjoy your family, more importantly. All right, that's it, guys. I'm out. And all right, it's the man they call Dave, and I'm going to have a little NXT Stand and Deliver preview. Plus, we're going to talk about Mania 38, Night 1 and Night 2. So let's get right to it. First, we got Toxic Attraction versus Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai for the NXT Women's Tag Title match. This is going to be on the pre-show, it looks like, for Stand and Deliver. Toxic Attraction's kind of been the big deal. This is Gigi Dolan and JC Jane. Obviously, with Mandy Rose, they've been kind of the centerpiece of the women's division down in NXT right now, whereas Raquel Gonzalez carried that division for a while, and her and Dakota Kai were best buds at one point. Looks like they're friends again. Should be an interesting matchup, but I see no reason to take the belts off Toxic Attraction right now. I'm not really I'm not going to pretend I'm that excited about this match, guys, but it could be a fun match. It's got potential. We'll see. But after that, looks like kicking off the show, hopefully, will be Carmelo Hayes in a fatal 5-way ladder match defending his NXT North American title against Santos Escobar, Solo Sikoa, Grayson Waller, and Cameron Grimes. Now, Waller has had a lot of focus on him. He's had matches with AJ Styles. He's the one that got the rub by taking out Johnny Gargano. He had his feud with LA Knight. He got the victory in War Games at the big high spot. Escobar, he's been a guy near the top of this mix for a while. Former star in Lucha Underground. Like, this guy has definitely been a player. But I think Cameron Hayes has delivered every time on here. And honestly, if he doesn't win, which I almost think he would, but I kind of think they've been playing off this story about Cameron Grimes wanting to be here and win a championship for his father who passed away, and he made that promise to his dad. So how do you not pay that off? It is the WWE, so you never know. But all right, gun to my head, I'm going to say Cameron Grimes actually gets this victory. And honestly, I mean, Cameron Grimes is just so charismatic. Like, how do you not want this guy to be a champion here? He deserves it. Then we got Tommaso Ciampa. Rumors are this could be his last match. They're playing into that against Tony D'Angelo. Me and AJ were talking about this the other day. Tony D'Angelo, it's not like I don't want to say he's a bad wrestler, but just friggin' gimmick does just not do it for me. Just 1990s hokey WWE cartoonist mobster guy. I think some people like it. I don't. Count me out. He's probably an average wrestler, but to me, it needs to be a phenomenal wrestler to make this gimmick work. I'm just not a fan. I don't like the idea of this being Ciampa's last match, but something tells me I'm not going to get my way, and it's probably Tony D'Angelo going over here. Then we got Mandy Rose in a fatal four-way against Cora Jade, Io Shirai, Kaylee Ray. Cora Jade, she's the young one in this. She's been getting a push. This is a big opportunity for her to break out with a good performance. Io Shirai, she's a pillar for NXT Women's Division. She's one of the best. Kaylee Ray was killing it in NXT UK, former NXT UK Women's Champ. But again, I don't think they're taking the belts off of Toxic Attraction yet. I say they're a centerpiece, and Mandy Rose is going to keep this belt. Then we got an interesting one. We got Imperium. Fabian Eichner, Marcel Barthel versus the Creed Brothers and MSK. NXT Tag Titles Match. I like the Creed Brothers here. They kind of remind me of the Steiner Brothers. I've said that before. They throw people around. They clothesline you on your head. They're just a couple bad, tough dudes. I like them. I'm not sure if they're going to get it done, but I'm going to pick them. Say we got a new champion. Then we got LA Knight versus Gunther, the formerly Walter. I love me some LA Knight, but you can't go against Gunther. To me, he's always going to be Walter, and he's one of the best in the world. He's got to go over here. And I think he's going to face, in the future, Braun Breaker, who's taking on Dolph Ziggler for the world title. And I think this has got to be Breaker's night to shine. His father's father and uncle are going into Hall of Fame. I'm hoping maybe eventually we can maybe call him Steiner again. But yeah, I think just Breaker's going to close the show. Main event, he'll get the big win. And I got to think that this is going to be his moment to shine. And I think in the future, we'll be looking at a feud with him and Walter. All right, so then we got Mania Night 1, which I think is going to be by far the best night of the show. We got Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair. Big time Bex. She's been back since SummerSlam as a heel when she beat Belair in 26 seconds. Belair has bounced back great since then. Bianca Belair should be called Big Time Bianca because she really seems to turn it on in these big performances, like her wins at the Royal Rumble, the Elimination Chamber in Saudi, like, you know, last year's WrestleMania when her and Banks main evented the first night. You know, we're coming off of injury angles with both of them, where they both have laid each other out at times. Now Belair just cut her hair. I think this is Belair's revenge and moment to shine. And I think it's going to be a hot crowd. Then we got the Mysterios versus Miz and Logan Paul. Logan Paul is a heat magnet. You know, I'm not a big fan of celebrities, but this guy, you know, he's been around. He's been doing the boxing thing with MMA guys. He even got to box Floyd Mayweather in a fight that might have been questionable, but it was a whatever you call those. You know, it didn't go on their records, an exhibition. So, but anyway, Logan Paul and Miz, I hate to say it, but they're probably going to beat the Mysterios because that's just the WWE thing to do. They don't like to, usually they have the celebrities go over. So we'll see. Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin. Ain't no way in hell Drew McIntyre is losing this. I'd be shocked. He's got to go over. He's one of the top baby faces in the company. You know, unless that's going to change, he should go over here. Then we have the Usos versus Nakamura and Rick Boogs. I love me some Nakamura. Rick Boogs is a guilty pleasure. This guy's super entertaining. I love the guitar. I also like the way he wrestles when he throws people around. That being said, the Usos are in the main event scene with Roman Reigns, and I don't see that changing. The Usos are going to go over here. I do want to say this about the Usos, though. They're an interesting team because when they're with Roman, they feel like a big deal. But when they're against like Nakamura and Boogs, I don't care. There's just something about it. Like, I feel like they need the right dance partners. Then we got the New Day versus Sheamus and Ridge Holland. This is Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. Hard to believe Kofi Kingston. It was just a couple years ago we had Kofi Mania, and he was winning the world title. And Yeah, I gotta think the New Day will probably get this done, but I wouldn't be surprised either way. Pete Dunne's supposedly going to be in the corner. That's Butch now, by the way. Then we got Seth Rollins versus an opponent to be chosen by Vince McMahon. Guys, this has got to be Cody Rhodes. I'll be shocked. I know WWE's let us down before, but I think everybody and their brother is predicting this to be Cody. Wrestling Observer, Fightful Select, Post, like everybody's pretty much been calling this. PW Insider, this is going to be Cody Rhodes. You never know, but I think it will be Cody, and I think it's going to main event night one. We'll see, but I have a feeling they're going to end up making this the final match too. It'd be a big way to debut Cody too. Bring him back, main event night one, boom. Also, Cody will get the win first night back. Charlotte Flair, Ronda Rousey. I got to think this is Ronda's moment to shine. She'll armbar tap out. It is an interesting matchup, though. Ronda Rousey, former bronze medalist, Olympics in judo. She's also a former UFC bantamweight champion. First women, along with Charlotte and Becky, to headline a WrestleMania. She's a big attraction. And Charlotte Flair, of course, is, had 12 women's championships now, and these are two of the elite women on the roster. I gotta think we're gonna put it on Rousey though. And then also night one, Kevin Owens will have his looks like a segment with Steve Austin, but they're kind of building this possibly a match. People are excited about this. I think it's gonna maybe turn into a match, but regardless, Steve Austin's gonna get the better of him here. He has to. Also, I want to point out, it's interesting that Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar both referenced Steve Austin a couple nights ago on Monday Night Raw. So if Austin's going to be back, maybe we get more than one showing of Steve Austin. Just a thought, maybe it leads to a match down the road. Because, wouldn't you rather have Steve Austin back one final run, maybe in a world title program, and then he rides off into sunset? We'll see. All right, night two, we got Queen Zelina, Carmella, they're the women's tag champs. Are taking on Banks and Naomi, Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, and Natalya and Baszler. I don't know who's going to win this. I'm not overly into this. I'm going to say I'd like it to be Natalya and Baszler, but they're heels. They're probably not going to go from heel to heel, so I'll go with Banks and Naomi, which would probably be my next favorite team in this. Johnny Knoxville, Sami Zayn. Not really that interested in this, but I feel like Sami Zayn will make this interesting and carry this. And Knoxville, to his credit, will probably take a big boot to the face and bump. And it's anything goes. So this is probably how they're going to get around and have Knoxville beat Sami somehow. Then we got Pat McAfee versus Austin Theory. Guys, if you haven't seen McAfee wrestle, he always delivers. Like, he's been in NXT War Games. He's took on Adam Cole. Mind you, Adam Cole was a phenomenal wrestler. And in that War Games, you're going up against guys like Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole. But still, he's one of the best. Those guys are the best, rather. I wouldn't say Pat's one of the best. But Pat has delivered every time he's been in there. I don't think this is any different. I think when the lights are bright, Pat shines. But I got to think this is Austin Theory going over. I think he's the one that, is going to be around full time. And Pat's not like the other celebrities where I think he needs to get the win and WWE feels compelled to, have him win. I say Pat probably going to take the loss here. RK Bro, Orton and Riddle versus the Profits and Alpha Academy. Not sure what they're going to do here. I personally love Alpha Academy. I love Chad Gable. He's been great in this role. Him and Otis, I'd like to see them get the win. But I don't know. Maybe this leads to the RK Bro breakup. Yeah, I think it will. We're going to go Alpha Academy tag title win. Then we got Edge versus AJ Styles. AJ Styles, what can you say about this guy, right? Former Ring of Honor World Champion, New Japan World Champion, Impact World Champion, WWE World Champion. He's done all. Then you got Edge, who's like an 11-time world champion, I believe. This should be a good one. Edge playing more of a heel role will be interesting. So AJ as a babyface selling too, I think will be great. I say AJ goes over. Edge probably wants to help put AJ over here. Then we got Bobby Lashley versus Omos. Now this is interesting because they have protected Bobby Lashley and kept him as one of the main event guys. But Omos, they haven't done anything. Like they have not, like he has not been pinned. He's not lost. I mean, he had a tag title loss to AJ because he had that program, but AJ took the fall. So Omos has been protected too. I'm interested to see where they go with this here because Omos has been one of those old school giants where they're actually keeping very protected. That being said, it's not like I'm over impressed with Omos, but nonetheless, his physical presence is something else. I have a hard time thinking they just bring Bobby Lashley back to beat him, though. I don't know. This might be the end of the Omos run here. I'll go with Bobby Lashley. And then we got Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. Unification match. Winner takes all. Roman has been the big-time player. I don't see that changing. I think they're going to find a way to screw over Brock, and Roman will keep the belt. Now, that being said, let's play a little fantasy booking. I said earlier that wouldn't it be great back if Steve Austin was back for another match against Roman or Brock, since they both mentioned him. How about just for a little Vince Russo crazy scenario? What if night one, Austin just rolls through Owens, beats him up, and he says, I didn't come back just for that. You know, if I'm going to come back for the first time in 19 years, I want a real match. And then, he says something like, Lesnar and Roman want to put my name in their mouth. How about we make it a triple threat? Triple threat for the world title. Imagine Steve Austin's in that. Imagine Steve Austin gets to win. We go home with Steve Austin closing out the show as world champion. And then I don't think you have to keep the belt on Steve for long, but maybe he sticks around the summer, you build a program, and then Roman gets the belt back off of him. I don't know. It's a thought. Or Roman just wins and, maybe they have a big build with Roman and Austin to a one-on-one, and that's Austin's final match. Just some thoughts. Some thoughts they could do to make things interesting. I mean, wouldn't it be something if coming out of WrestleMania, we had Cody Rhodes main event night one, beat Seth Rollins, and Steve Austin in the main event night two? Probably not all of that's going to happen, though. But it'd be interesting. All right, guys, that's going to be it for your WrestleMania and NXT Stand and Deliver preview.
Ooh, I had originally planned on breaking up those videos, but that first video was heavy. And, I've always kind of said crying's like masturbating. Everybody does it, but when it happens in front of you in public, you get alarmed. So I don't want to alarm you. I'm going to do the reads now, though. The Pro Wrestling Vault, Volume 1, 35 short stories across the wrestling landscape, written by Vinnie Barry. Available at lancebychance.com, where you can also get Lance by Chance, Wrestling is Yvonne Eric. And, if summertime's coming and you're going to want to bring a book to the beach, if you don't want to bring a wrestling book, get the darker comedy of Super Vows by friend of the show, Kevin Kelton, or the more lighthearted new book he released. Ooh, shit. Good luck on this pronunciation. Pas de deux, Dance of Two. I have not yet read it, but Kevin Kelton is an amazing writer, worked on Boy Meets World, other TV shows. But we are brought to you by Graham, by A.O. Money Meach. We are brought to you by Camouflage, When the Deadbolt Breaks, Buzzard Canyon, Young D, and all the amazing artists over at Connecticut People Records. And our commentary home, New Heights Wrestling. Check them out on YouTube. Later today, Dave and I will be recording some new commentary for them. Now, where Dave covered the WWE selection of shows, I'm just going to kind of update you on what we're bringing you this week. The first event up is tonight, 8 p.m., Super Card of Honor, and this card is looking pretty good. I told you this week in the world title match, you got Gresham versus Bandito. This has been building for a while. Who's going to walk away with the title? I feel like it's Gresham. ROH pure title match, Josh Woods versus Wheeler Yuta. after Yuta's performance on Wednesday, I am highly looking forward to this. Yeah, Randy, we got some new commentary coming, the Bulldog Bash. And I feel like Yuta's going to take that pure title, and then they're going to be putting that to work on AEW TV. And Randy, you knew the next match I was going to talk about. ROH World Tag Team titles, the Briscoes versus FTR, a match we've been waiting for. It feels like almost as long as we waited for FTR versus the Bucks. So I'm very excited for that match. If that's not going to be match of the show, then the next one will. Swerve versus Alex Zane, two guys coming off of minor WWE runs. Their whole indie runs were better than anything in the WWE, but they're coming off it with a certain polish that I am heavily enjoying. Now, two matches added since I did my report earlier in the week. We've got Willow Nightingale versus Mercedes Martinez for the ROH Interim Women's Championship. That'll be interesting because I feel like Willow will win it, and maybe her against Deonna Purrazzo, and we'll see who unifies that championship. Match I skipped over, Jay Lethal versus Lee Moriarty. Very excited for this because we've seen Lethal's recent Dynamite run, and I'm wondering if that storyline will bleed over into ROH, where he's been a more kind of dominant champion. And the last match added, ROH World Television Championship, Minoru Suzuki versus Rhett Titus. I'm happy anytime I can see Suzuki in the ring, and I just feel like he's going to beat Titus for it. Now, another match we brought to you earlier this week, the Mark Hitchcock Memorial Super Show 2022. You've got Minoru Suzuki versus Biff Busick. This has already happened. This happened last night. I hope to watch it at some point this afternoon. And this match looks great. Ooh, Randy with the hot take. Lethal loses. It's definitely a possibility because Moriarty's on the come up. So I'll give you that. Now, Tomohiro Ishii versus Timothy Thatcher. Timothy Thatcher was in Bloodsport yesterday. I did catch it. This is going to be an interesting match. And if you haven't watched Bloodsport, definitely check it out. You got the Briscoes in another match versus Low-Key and Homicide. You know this is going to be hard hitting. You know this is going to be worth checking out. I can't wait to watch it. Bandito versus Speedball Mike Bailey. The Super Show always has these interesting matchups. Mia Yim versus Athena, another one. You got Ace Austin, Black Taurus, and Jonathan Gresham versus Michael Oku, Ray Orus, and Laredo Kid. That going to be an awesome Lucha 6-man. Now, they had Team Onita versus Team PCO. Watched it yet, so I'm very interested to see how this plays out. Yeah, the Multitude of Matches show looks great. And where was I? Oh, John Morrison versus Taya Valkyrie in a Dirty Dishes match. I don't know what that is, but like I said, I plan on checking that out. The one thing I did get to watch yesterday was I got to check out half of Bloodsport 8, and this card is insane. You have Minoru Suzuki versus Chris Dickinson, Jon Moxley versus Biff Busick, Marina Shafir versus Zeta Zhang, Slade versus Alex Coughlin, Yoya versus Ninja Mac, Josh Barnett versus Jonah, John Hennigan versus Simon Gotch. That was interesting because John Hennigan, coming off the WWE, I was surprised to see him announced for Bloodsport. And we had Masha Slamovich versus Janai Kai, Timothy Thatcher versus JR Kratos, Yuya Uemura versus Speedball Mike Bailey, and Bad Dude Tito versus Royce Isaacs. I have watched every one of these Bloodsports, and they never let down. It's a no-ring knockout submission win. Kind of. Oh, interesting, Randy. I was wondering what that stipulation meant. But, it's almost looking like MMA, like kind of probably grappling is better what to call it. And I thought it was, I thought the idea was super interesting, and I'm going to watch the second half of that today. there's so much to watch because last night also was Joey Janela's Spring Break Part 1, which had the GCW Ultraviolent title match, Alex Colon versus John Wayne Murdoch, that they've been building up to. Very excited for that because they've been building that feud, and John Wayne Murdoch is an up-and-coming deathmatch wrestler who will be in Norwich, Connecticut on May 21st, so check that out. You had the GCW Tag Team title match, Tremont and Gage versus the Briscoes versus the Second Gear crew of Mance Warner and Matthew Justice. Very interesting tag match. 3 huge teams in GCW. Next up, AR Fox versus Blake Christian. I said it earlier this week. It's going to be an athletic match. It's going to be a very exciting match to watch, and it's going to be one of my matches of the night. Mickie James versus Allie Katch was a match where I was surprised when they announced it because I didn't expect Mickie James to end up in GCW. But given that it's WrestleMania weekend and so many companies are working in such a small area, I can understand how the crossover probably happened. X-Pac versus Joey Janela is going to be that match. They've been building up to that since the LA shows. And this has been a very interesting heel run for Janela. So that's another match I have to catch up with. And the GCW World Heavyweight title, Jon Moxley versus AJ Gray. Moxley has been one of their more high-profile champions, but AJ Gray is definitely like one of the biggest up-and-comers they have in this company. So interested to see how that plays out. Now, Gringo Locos, The World on Lucha, tonight at 8:30 p.m., one of the events I'm most excited for. You got Sadika versus Pagano. Pagano's put on some wild matches in Mexico. Very hardcore matches. Psychosis versus Tony Deppen. I remember Psychosis wrestling with Juventud Guerrera and Rey Mysterio in the 90s. And him versus Tony Deppen is going to be entertaining as anything. Now, if GCW is known for something, it's kind of like their 6-man scrambles. You got Arrow Boy versus Octagon Jr. versus Shane Mercer versus Golden Dragon versus Drago Kid versus Chris Carter. This is going to be wild. Shane Mercer, a beast in the ring. Drago Kid has done definitely some good shows for GCW. So keep an eye on that match. The next match is going to be insane as well. AR Fox versus Ninja Mac. Ninja Mac last night in Bloodsport was amazing, and his match with AR Fox, hugely athletic. Now you've got Abismo Negro Jr., Demonic Flamita, and Gringo Loco versus ASF, Laredo Kid, and Rey Horus. 6-man tag. It's going to be, I think, similar to the intensity they showed in the Hammerstein, and it's going to be that kind of fast-paced, high-flying match. Now, next up, Johnny Caballero versus Jack Cartwheel. Johnny Caballero is John Hennigan, and this was another one. I was surprised when I saw him announced for it, but when you look at it, he's done lucha, he's very athletic, and him and Cartwheel are going to put on a match of the night contender. Now, the next matchup, Dr. Wagner Jr. versus Psycho Clown. This is a match that was at AAA Triple Mania, where Dr. Wagner Jr. lost his match. And if I'm correct, this is a hair versus career match. So I'm interested to see how this works. I haven't double checked on that. So at the very least, it's Wagner versus Psycho Clown. And this is a Triple Mania main event that they are bringing to the United States, and I think is going to show up. Now, a match like this is a card that's not going to be for everybody, mostly for the hardcores. And throw up the World on Lucha because I think I talked about that without showing the graphic. And the next one is interesting because it's almost like if you like minor league baseball, LA Fights and JCW, they're both kind of minor league, almost feeder systems to GCW on both coasts. And big match of the night is B-Boy versus Grim Reaper. And that is kind of like a head of LA Fights, B-Boy versus the head of JCW, Grim Reaper, and that's going to be an interesting clash. Now you got Dark Sheik versus Charles Mason. Dark Sheik has been a GCW favorite since she debuted on the scene. Charles Mason, like the exact opposite, heel of all heels. That is definitely going to be a match. Oh, and this event is going on right now. Next up, Nick Wayne versus Marcus Mathers. Two guys that I would say are like starting out on the wrestling journey, but they're at different levels. Nick Wayne already signed to AEW. I think he's 17, and he's been having a crazy run in GCW. And Marcus Mathers, he's been on some GCW shows. I haven't watched as much JCW or LA Fights. That's why I'm very interested in this show, to kind of see what the next level is. Billy Starks versus Sandra Moon. Alec Price versus Jack Cartwheel. Alec Price is a heel that I've seen at a few shows up here in the Northeast Indies. Jack Cartwheel, very athletic out of the West Coast. Next up, Juicy Finale versus Big Vin. This is going to be a big man battle. Keep your eye out for it. Cole Radrick versus Kevin Blackwood. Another interesting match. I've seen Cole Radrick recently did a death match that showed out, but he's a good amateur wrestler becoming a pro wrestler. Kevin Blackwood, continuing on his journey up. And then next up, we have Team JCW, which is Bam Sullivan, Charlie Tiger, Ellis Taylor, Janai Kai, Jordan Oliver, Slade, and Yoya versus Team LA Fights. Now, when I was looking on Cage Match, it did not have a team listed for LA Fights. But I'm, in the comments, let me know if you keep up with LA Fights and who we should be looking for on there. Now, another match. We haven't done a preview of this, so today at 4 o'clock, GCW For the Culture. This is headlined by O'Shea Edwards and Shane Taylor, who are Shane Taylor Productions, versus AJ Francis and Tahuti Miles, who are the Hitmakers with Brianna Brandy. This is the Hitmakers' first indie appearance that I'm aware of after the NXT WWE firing, and I'm very interested to see how they look in the ring. Too Cold Scorpio versus Brian Keith. Another great match. And if you're not familiar with For the Culture, is all black wrestlers and some very big names on this, like Hoodfoot versus Billy Dixon. That's going to be a wild death match. You have a non-title match with Darius Lockhart and GCW Extreme Champion AJ Gray. You have Trish Adora versus MJ Jenkins, JTG versus Rich Swann, and amazingly, the Impact Knockouts title, Tasha Steelz versus Big Swole. Huge event. Very excited for this as well. I know I keep saying that for all of these events, but I mean, they are all super exciting. Like, that's what these WrestleMania weekend cards bring out. Now, the last event that we have purchased at the moment, Joey Janela's Spring Break 6 Part 2. And you have quite the interesting card. Matt Cardona with Chelsea Green in his corner versus Chris Dickinson with Missy Hyatt in his corner. I did not see that coming, but that's going to be interesting. I talk all the time about how Spring Break brings together these different combinations of not only matches, but like people they pair up. So it's interesting to see that. Biff Busick versus Tony Deppen. That match is going to be out of control. PCO versus Mike Bailey. That's going to be very interesting because it's kind of size versus speed. Minoru Suzuki versus Effie is going to be a sight to behold, and I can't wait to see how that match plays out. And it wouldn't be Spring Break without the Clusterfuck Battle Royal. Cage Match has Buff Bagwell, Kamikaze, Guy Steele, Invisible Man, Sean Ross Sapp, and I believe I saw Maven appearing in it. And I'm sure Virgil will be there. I'm sure about 30 other people will be there. It's going to be very interesting, but let us know in the comments what you plan on watching. Who do you think's going to win? Both NXT, WWE, or even if you want to give us predictions on GCW. And kind of thanks for putting up with the little bump in the road we've had the past couple weeks. Last week, you had the B team of me and AJ recording. I think it, like Dave said, maybe the first time he didn't appear on a segment in, God, so long. And this week, since the funeral was today, I had to figure out something to do solo for you guys. So hope you enjoyed this video and get at us on social media and in the comments of the video who you think's gonna do what where, and we will talk to you again next week.